It's the last day of April today. I can't believe that it's May already, tomorrow. It feels like the year is just like flying by in this really strange way. It's like in one way, it's all completely slow motion because the days are longer. But yeah, at the same time, it also feels faster and quicker because everything blends into one. So I look back over the last 7 weeks, because it's pretty much 7 weeks since I've been in quarantine now, 7 weeks minus one day, and it's like 7 weeks not going outside. It's like a huge amount of time. If someone had said that to me previously, I would have thought it was the most impossible thing ever. Yeah, and I wouldn't be able to, there's no way I would cope with not going outside for 7 weeks. I mean, just not going out for one day and I start to feel stir crazy usually, previously, before all this. And yet, it's like, it doesn't feel like 7 weeks. It feels, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks. It's like, because everything is so similar, it all just kind of blends into one long, endless day, or one long, endless weekend almost. And it's not that I'm not being productive, because I'm being very productive. I'm trying to make the most of this time. Yeah, I'm trying to kind of grow as much as possible during this time, heal as much as possible during this time, push myself, evolve, use this as a vehicle for a complete rebirth of self. But it still just feels shorter than 7 weeks. So that's kind of like strange, really. And it got me thinking today, and I was thinking, I'm not ready for quarantine to be over. It's like there's talk now in the Spanish newspaper that the government have put together like a plan for allowing us back to normal again, a new normal, not the old normal, but they've got a plan. It's an 8-week plan, and it has 4 stages. So each stage is a week long, for us to get back to normal again. And it's stage 0 at the moment, which is like an extra stage. So stage 0 is that children are allowed to go out for a walk with a parent, not both parents, a parent. So you're allowed to take a child out with you for a walk, and they're allowed to go out for a 1-hour walk. And that's huge, because up until now children haven't been allowed out at all unless they are being single parented, and then they have to go to the supermarket with their parents. If they're too young to be left at home, they're allowed to go to the supermarket with their parents. But children that are old enough to be left at home have not been allowed to go outside at all, full stop, not at all. So that's a pretty big thing, and there's lots of people here that have been really excited about that and celebrating it. It's like kind of, I don't know, it's like, yeah, this huge celebration, this huge like thing, like, I can go outside, which is just bizarre, really, because we'd never really have thought that we'd be celebrating such a thing before. And then the second stage is happening, coming up in the next week, and that is that adults and teenagers are allowed to go out for an hour exercise each day, but on your own. So you're not allowed to go out with the person that you live with, be that a friend or a partner or a relative, but you are allowed to go out on your own. So that's quite exciting, and I am looking forward to that. Not so much going out on my own. I think I'd be really looking forward to going out for a walk with someone. That would be really nice, with someone that I live with. I would really enjoy going out for a walk with them. That would be great. But that's not allowed yet. That will be in a future phase. But for now, it's like, yeah, we will be allowed out for an hour independently to exercise. And I think they're even talking about opening some gyms and stuff, so people can go and exercise there. So I guess they're really thinking about our health and keeping us healthy, so that they don't end up with another kind of like problem on their hands. So that's cool, and I'm excited about getting outside tomorrow, or I don't know the exact date yet, so it might even be tomorrow, but it might be a week afterwards. We're not entirely sure yet. We're kind of like waiting to hear day by day. They kind of promise things and then they get shifted depending on like what the feeling is in government. And also I think it's like the health minister for Spain or whatever is in charge as well of a lot of stuff. So yeah, we will find out for sure in the next kind of like public interview. But yeah, it could even be tomorrow. So I'm excited about this, very excited about this, but I'm also apprehensive because I feel like the world that's out there now is different to the world that I left behind, and I've changed a lot. And my sense of security and safety has shifted quite drastically. And until we kind of know where we are with this pandemic and how it's going, and how much we need to worry and how much we don't, anytime we go outside, we are risking, our health potentially. And so I'm kind of like torn between, do I need a walk that much? Like, is a walk worth that much to me? Is a walk going to be that beneficial to me? Or would I be better served staying at home? And that's a really difficult one because I know that I need to go outside. Like, I really need to go outside. I am a sunshine person. I love the sun, the sky, the feel of the air on my skin, the ground under my feet, walking somewhere, in nature or somewhere beautiful. All of that really lifts me up, lights me up. It's where I get my energy from, my joy from. And I've been really detached from that recently, and I've had to really search deeply to find other sources for those things that I need on a daily basis. And I have found them. Some days are more successful than others, but it's not the same. So going outside would be beneficial to me massively. But is it worth that much? Because what if I then get sick? Was it worth then going through that? And I guess that's an impossible question that you can't really answer. And I'm also starting to think about the fact that there have been debates in different governments in different countries about whether we should all be in quarantine and be terrified and fearful of this virus, or whether we should be out mixing with each other still and trying to get herd immunity. And so I'm finding myself kind of thinking, maybe the only way out of this thing really foreseeably into the future is, that we can hide away or as much as we want, but we're only really delaying the inevitable, and the inevitable is that we kind of need to bump into this thing in order to be able to deal with this thing. Like, we have to face off here in order to confront, rise up above it, in order to be victorious over it. And so, we have immunity to various viruses and illnesses and everything out there in the world that are there all the time and that we come into contact with all the time, because we bump into them and we either get mini versions of them or big versions of them, or we don't get them at all because of our immunity, and we build up that immunity over the course of our lives. And we need to get an immunity to this virus because it's a new virus, or it's a new, it's a new form of the cold flu virus. And so I'm finding myself thinking, well, I could hide away for the rest of this year. I could hide away for the next 2 or 3 years, but really, what am I going to gain from that? I'm not really going to gain anything, am I? Maybe, over time the virus will kind of evolve and change and become less powerful and less terrifying. Maybe it won't. And so I kind of have that thing as well, as in, well, maybe it's best to just go out there and get back into life again and live my life, because none of us knows how long we're going to be alive for. And, we've all got our own challenges that we had prior to this anyway, some of us more than others. So, are we doing ourselves a disservice by hiding away for that many weeks or months when really we should be just enjoying the time that we have left? So that's kind of my thinking around the whole thing. and then like kind of going back to what I actually wanted to talk about more, the focus of it, as opposed to, you know, my kind of like doom and doom philosophizing and whatever's. I wanted to talk about the fact that, like, I was struck by the thought that I am not ready for quarantine to be over yet. I'm not ready for this thing to have run its course, because I'm quite enjoying like the having all of this time and not being allowed to go anywhere, because it's and also the kind of like the thinking of, oh my god, I might die, which was massively there at the beginning and isn't so much there now, but every so often it rises up again and then goes down, and that gets provoked a lot, triggered a lot at the moment, also with the whole 5G thing, which really worries me. And I guess the whole, we're going to vaccinate everybody and that's how we're going to get through this thing as well, because I'm not massively into vaccines. I think some vaccines can be really, really helpful, but they can also be harmful. Like, a lot of vaccines have really harmed people and continue to really harm people. And as a person who is already living with a fair amount of harm, I am wary of having all of that shit pumped into me. And so unless there's like kind of like a pure vaccine that's created, then I'm really not happy with the idea of having just the generic vaccine put it into me with all of the other things that it may contain. It may not contain them, who knows? I can live in hope. I can be optimistic, but just going by past vaccines and the contents of them, that worries me. So yeah, and I'm a little on the fence about that one, because the fear part of me just wants to stick my arm out and go, hey, stab it in me, because I want to feel safe again, and I don't want to get sick and end up in hospital and, you know, die like that. But then the other kind of like more adult, more grounded, more mature, more sensible, more personally loving part of me, the part of me that is concerned for my health and my body, doesn't want some kind of known, unrecognized substance mixed with other toxins shoved into my body, and then my body has to deal with that, and then I have to have faith that my body will be able to detoxify the stuff, and then I'll be okay. And so that's kind of scary, and I think a lot of people are scared about that, not just me. And also the 5G thing, a lot of people are scared about that, not just me. And you know, I'm kind of like choosing not to overly educate myself on either one of those subjects, actually, because it's a rabbit hole that you can disappear down, and I don't want to go down it. I don't want to be too informed. I don't want to know too much, because I think when it comes to things that we don't have a choice about, something that we don't really have a say in or any power over, like, you know, we may or may not be able to opt in or out of vaccines. 5G pretty much is going to happen, but hey, miracle, you know, enough people may have stood up or may stand up still, and it might get changed. We don't know, or it could be rolled out, and then the effects of it could be so horrific that it'll be rolled back in again. Who knows? I don't know, but I'm kind of choosing not to know too much, because the stories and the information that is out there, and the kind of like, you know, films and interviews and documentaries about these things are really scary. And the few times that I have watched things about them, I haven't been able to sleep for ages afterwards, because it's just haunted me. And the whole like COVID-19 pandemic thing, that's you know, for a whole month, that haunted me, and I was having nightmares pretty much almost every night about it, my brain just trying to process it and catch up on, so much news all at once. From having abdicated from it before, and then just recently opted back in just for this period of time, and wishing that I didn't have to, and now kind of like dipping a toe in maybe once every so often, but not as much as I was before. And so I think sometimes it's better not to know too much about things and to focus on what we can control and what can bring us happiness and stability and a sense of security and power. So I have been focusing, although it doesn't sound like it so far with what I've been talking about just now in this video, but I have been focusing on positive things and on growth and on healing and on empowerment, and I found that to be really, really helpful. And so like I'm not ready for this lockdown, lock-in to be over yet, because I feel like I've still got so much more that I could get out of it. And I think a lot of people are really embracing this situation and this time in a similar way, and are really coming into themselves. And so many people who have been quiet and introverted and shy before are making themselves known and creating a presence for themselves. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I think, I don't know for other people, but I know partly from my perspective, part of my motivation was, well, if there is a possibility that I might die within the next year, I would like to have existed first, and I would like to leave something of myself behind. And I always had that desire in my career. I first started out and I wanted to be a graphic designer at the beginning, and then I wanted to be an author. I've always been really creative, so I've always drawn and painted and sewn, and I've always written as well in various different forms. And so I had these two desires. One was to be in graphic design novels, like the anthologies that you can buy, or just different designers' works and stuff, because I always found those books just to be amazing and beautiful and so inspiring. And then I kind of that didn't end up happening. I ended up, spending a while working in web design and doing a lot of graphic design there and animation and stuff, and that was really, really fun. But it was really temporary artwork, because people would update their websites, quite often, and so all your beautiful work would just be disappeared, would vanish, and then it wouldn't exist anymore. And I prefer stuff that I can touch and feel, and stuff that lasts forever. And so I kind of took myself away from that and went back to being more of a traditional artist and drawing things in pen and ink on paper, and trying to pursue that. And I started writing as well. And the reason that I really wanted to write was because my voice has always been really important to me. It's like my voice is my wand. It's my way of making sense of the world, I guess, and expressing myself. Although it took me years and years and years to kind of have confidence in that voice when spoken out loud, on the page, I don't know, I always just kind of did. It was where I felt at home. So I grew up journaling for years and years and years, and I loved that as an outlet. And my journals used to be full of illustrations as well, so they were pieces of art essentially by the time I finished them. And I cherished them, and they were very private. No one ever saw them or anything, but they were really, really special to me, a bit like a sketchbook essentially, but with my journaling in them as well. And that was something that I could leave behind. And then, but it was kind of no one's allowed to look at this, but after I die, then maybe my parents can look at it. And then as I kind of got a bit older, I was no, I don't want my parents to look at it. Maybe my partner can look at it. And then I kind of decided, no, I didn't want my partner to look at it. And now my decision is that now I actually just want them to be like buried with me or burned. I don't want anyone to ever read them. They were just for me alone. They're private. But with the book, that was for everybody, and I wanted to write as a way of making sense of the world and as a way of helping other people to make sense of the world. And that was an ambition that I had for a while, and I poured a lot of energy and love and effort into it, but never quite got anywhere because I lost my confidence too soon. So I kind of like finished the writing of the book, but when it came to sending it out into the world, I got put off by receiving like rejection after rejection, and I kind of gave up. I spent a year trying to get it out there, and it didn't happen. And so then I started to write the next book, but I'd lost my belief in myself, I guess, and the fun had gone out of it, because the first one was just sitting there, you know, in a drawer and not going anywhere. And I don't know, it was my baby, and I'd poured my heart and soul into it for a whole year, and then I spent another year trying to get it published. And I was stuck thinking, well, is it worth then sitting down and spending another year or so writing another book that might never go anywhere? And in the meantime, what the heck's happening to my career? So, you know, it was a bit confusing, and I lost a bit of faith in that. And so I kind of like decided, well, okay, I'm going to keep my creative side and my artistic side for me. It's mine, it's a hobby, it gives me joy, and I will try and do other things career-wise. And that kind of like, you know, that took over for a while. And it wasn't that I wasn't being creative, because I was being creative in what I did then pursued, but it was different, and a part of me was not being expressed. And now with this pandemic, and things have happened previously in my life over the past like kind of 5 years that have also shifted me and changed my views, and given me a bit of a kick up the butt side. But this last like 7 weeks of this pandemic has really upped that again, in an enormous way, because of the immediacy that it kind of imposed upon us. It's like, you know, you can have other life crises, and you choose to change course because of them in order to be different and feel different and change your life in a more positive direction to the one that you were previously following, because for some reason it didn't pan out, and it was like a detour, not the true path. But there was no, you know, I didn't feel like I was in a race. There was no immediacy to it. Whereas now with this pandemic, I think there is a sense of immediacy that I am feeling, in terms of like, well, if you don't do it now, then will you ever do it? Because, you know, this is a big enough reason, surely, to do the things that you have been scared of. So it's really like kind of pushed me to face my fears and do stuff that I wouldn't otherwise have done or wanted to have done. And so, yeah, I just like, I'm wondering and hoping as well that other people have had a similar experience, and that they're choosing to really embrace this time and to look at it and think, not in a doom or gloom or be scared way. You know, I don't want people to be scared at all. I want people to be less scared than me, and I want them to be more cheerful than me and more optimistic than me. And you know, I am cheerful and I am optimistic and I am positive, I promise you. I'm sharing all sides of my truth with you, yeah. So I'm being completely transparent here. You know, I have my good days and I have my bad days. This situation is both a gift and it's not, I don't know what else. It's not a curse and it's not a punishment, but I guess it is a burden and a challenge, and like, I still prefer the world that I thought existed before this. I still prefer walking down the street and feeling safe. I don't think for a long time will I ever run an errand again and think of it in such a casual manner. Because there will always be risks attached to any interaction now that one has in the world. And there probably always were. It's just that I didn't think about it like that before. It's like I didn't think that, when I touch that doorknob, I might potentially catch something and get sick. I kind of trusted my body to take care of those things and to keep me safe. And now I'm not so sure, and I'm sure all of that will normalize in time. And we're still in this like kind of crazy weird void, and I'm probably more in this crazy weird void than most people are, because I literally haven't ventured outside, and I think a lot of people have ventured outside. People have gone to get shopping, to run errands, go to appointments. Some people throughout this whole thing have actually been allowed to go out for exercise. And so it's different in every country. It's different. Some people social distancing wise, they've still been able to socialize just with a certain amount of space between people. So that's very, very different to here. And so maybe my view of it and my perception of it is very different. I'm not sure. But I just wanted to, I guess, encourage anybody that hasn't taken advantage of, sorry, some message popped down on my screen and it was really distracting me. I wanted to encourage everybody that hasn't taken advantage yet of this time. If you've been deep in trauma or deep in recovery, so that you've just been like reading or watching Netflix or sleeping, I want to encourage you to try and embrace this if you can, and to do one new thing that maybe you've wanted to do for ages and you've put off for whatever reason, because I think the world is very accommodating right now. So I think you can put yourself out there, and people will be more loving and more accepting, because everybody is doing the same thing and everybody's feeling really vulnerable and really exposed. And so it's a great time to rise up and be authentic and speak your truth. It's a great time to seize your power, to step into your true self, and to reclaim the parts of you that you have neglected or rejected, or wounded. So yeah, do the work, journal, do a gratitude diary, try and get a therapist, or and that therapist doesn't need to be a professional therapist. That therapist could be someone that in your life that could be a confidant to you, just someone to hold a mirror up to you, so that you can see yourself reflected back, and someone to hold you accountable, because I think no matter how good we are at doing our own personal work, it's really easy not to do it, or not to look deep enough, or not to see clearly, when we don't have someone like helping us, guiding us, holding space for us. That's a really powerful, potent, beautiful thing. And I know that it's like I'm a therapist, but I also have a therapist, because I believe that it's really important to always be dealing with our stuff. Otherwise it stacks up and it stacks up and it stacks up, and then it becomes a pressure cooker and it explodes one day finally in a really messy, destructive way, completely and utterly breaking us. And so I have found during this time, like my therapist, speaking to her on a weekly basis, to have been just, it's really helped me. It's given me so much strength and so much peace, just having someone else hear my thoughts and my feelings without judgment, holding space for them, and then telling me in a really calm, confident way that everything's going to be all right and I have nothing to worry about, and that's huge. And I think we could all do with that, always, but especially right now. So those are my thoughts, and I hope that you've been having an equally interesting time during this quarantine period, and I hope that you are coping and surviving and thriving.